brothers and sisters, and friends, and I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present.
So here we are clarifying. Do I have the right to be informed of the cause and nature of these proceedings? My first stepping stone, for instance, is asking whoever it is, do I have the right to be informed of the cause and the nature of these proceedings? Now, that's a lot of words. I know that. To be informed, which means that you have all the information to the point of clarity,
right,
of the cause of these proceedings, okay, of the thing that caused, that led something to happen, that caused these proceedings, which is everything in the past that is relevant to what's going on, and the nature of these proceedings, which is how things are going to be handled and what's the discourse going to be like for the resolution, I guess, of this claim or assertion or accusation. That is broken down a bit of the question, do I have the right to be informed of the cause and nature of these proceedings? So what do you think they'll answer? That's one of the, see, there's some history behind that phrase too, by the way. There used to be several different court systems that tried to do away with that right and ignore that right. It was called Inquisition. Another one was called the Star Chambers. Pretty much all the times that in history they tried to do away with it, it has a very, very bad connotation now. But have you ever heard of like the Inquisition or the Star Chambers?
Well, I heard of the Inquisition, but the Star Chamber sounds vaguely familiar. Was that?
Okay. Someone would be brought in, they'd be completely in the dark, it'd be like, okay, we're going to decide how to punish you. You really don't have anything to do with this, but, be ready to be punished in a second. And much like the Inquisitions, where it was like, you had no right to really know or defend yourself for anything. So the counter to that kind of philosophy and the current thinking and current public relations is that you have the right to defend yourself. That's American kind of justice thinking. You have the right to defend yourself if you so choose. If you don't choose to have a lawyer, you have the right to defend yourself and to be informed, and thus, to be informed of the cause and the nature so that you can defend yourself. The idea that you're one of the parties in an ordeal is halfway okay public relations. I still have issues, but we'll get to that later. But anyways, so what do you think that the judge would be okay with saying, yes, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Generally speaking, they are. They fought us a little bit on that, but after a while of kind of, working on them, if they say no or refuse to answer, then you kind of turn up the pressure on. Oh my God, are you really in a court in America trying to pull that kind of crap? And you basically prod them into coming back to at least confessing that you have that right. Although sometimes it's surprising that some of these judges are fighting, even answering the most mundane of questions. But so it goes. I'm sorry?
Pressuring them to a conflict of interest if they're not willing to at least.
So that's a slightly different. That's a different topic. The conflict of interest issue is one of the tactics that is that can be useful. Certainly.
Okay, I just didn't know if that's when you would maybe start pushing that if they're not going to.
Yes. Okay. So the conflict of interest issue was not originally necessarily, but made best known and clear in Mark Stevens' book Adventures in Legal Land from a few years back now. It's still a very valid statement, but the slight downside that it has, compared to some of the other tactics, I guess you'd say, or compared to some of the other approaches, is that it doesn't have the advantage of letting the judge get on your side on an issue so that we found that it's a little easier to get a judge around to your side of the table a little bit when it's the prosecutor that is offered up as a scapegoat. And the way that you can kind of, the issue on which the prosecutor can be held to bear, so to speak, is in asking if the prosecutor's dotted his I's and crossed his T's by providing evidence of jurisdiction like he was supposed to. So if you just started playing ping pong, okay, so let's say you've never really played ping pong, and I hand you a paddle and I show you a little bit of how to play. And you're doing the whole, you know how you first start playing ping pong, it's way up. You're just kind of lobbing it a little bit, you know? Now, if I were to put you up against somebody who was, on the Chinese ping pong team, you'd be toast right away. You wouldn't even see that it was the same game or that it was any chance of even ever making the score, right? That's kind of how things are when you're still getting your footing on some of these concepts of how to identify what they're saying and predict it so that it's easy to kind of process, because you're like, oh, I knew he was going to say one of these two things probably, and he said it. Now I know how to prepare my response while he's in the middle of his sentence, which is about blah, 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 and I'm preparing my follow-up, which I already know is going to be along these lines, and just coming up with a phrase, how to get back to my question that I asked that he didn't answer. So all of that work, if you've already done enough prep, it happens automatically, if that makes sense. Much like
Yes.
ping pong, a lot of it happens automatically. Once you've played for a little bit, your hand, you don't have to think about your aim in the same way. You just kind of want the ball to go to a certain location, and your body kind of takes over a lot of that work. Well, your subconscious and your mental process, basically. It's not your body literally, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So as things become a little bit more automatic in our thinking, it really becomes easier to say, to be able to say something that has the right combination of embarrassing the judge and revealing that he's not making his job look good, that he did a good job at satisfying the public relations, and that his boss is going to look at the transcript and go, ugh, man, you made a mess of it, And at a certain point, he really, hopefully, again, they can always steamroll, but at a certain point, the hopes are that he looks at things, at the situation he's in, because you've helped him look at it. You've kept him aware of the due process violations he's been forced to do. The demonstration of bias that he's been forced to do. Because it's like either you show the bias or you give up on having it. Those are your two choices, buddy. That's what we're really trying to leverage out is we know he tends to have a bias towards the prosecutor. We're trying to reveal it and keep him from hiding it under vague language. Namely, the idea that, oh, I'm sure the prosecutor has evidence of jurisdiction. We'll get to that eventually. Just plead now. Just to be clear, I don't have the right to be informed of the cause of nature. There's secrets that are being kept from him. You're presuming he's being honest with you when he tells you when he has the conclusion that that this court has jurisdiction. You're believing him without so much as even checking to see if he has any evidence, let alone requiring him to submit it, which he's supposed to do. You see the embarrassment, right? You see the leverage that we have because he doesn't want to do his job. He doesn't want to make the prosecutor do his job. He doesn't want to do his own job. He just wants to collect the money, pretty much.
So, in instances where, like in the role play, where they're just trying to move it along and he's saying that I assure you that we have it and it's going to be brought out at the trial where you'll have an opportunity to do blah, blah, blah.
That'd be a great idea with the exception of one problem. Why would you want to go to trial if there's evidence that the codes apply. If there's evidence that the codes apply, for crying out loud, plead guilty. Make a plea deal.
Yeah.
If there's evidence that the codes apply, all else is that's the crux of the argument, right?
Yes.
Now, unless you see that evidence and you know, oh crap, he made that evidence up. Oh, I see. I know how he fabricated it. In fact, I can prove that evidence has been concocted. I'm best off pleading not guilty and proving his evidence to be falsified. But how do you know that until you know what evidence it is? They're keeping a secret from you. Now, we tend to know that secret isn't a secret at all. They're pretending, they're bluffing that they have it at all. But they're acting like they have it and are just keeping it secret. Well, either one is a really, really stupid move on their part. Well, it's smart, but either one is unjust. It shows that they're not concerned with honesty, forthrightness in this issue. They're saying that they know they have jurisdiction, but not saying why they know it. They're giving you a non sequitur, it's called. They're saying, well, we know it because the property is located in this county. Okay, so how do you connect those two dots? The property is located in this county, and then way over here, we have jurisdiction over you. Take me through those steps. That property located here leads to this, leads to that, leads to this, leads to that, leads to that, leads to that, leads to you having jurisdiction. Without fail, right? Meaning there's not even, well, this probably means that, which probably means this, which probably means that, which probably means this. Because they're not allowed to speculate upon speculation upon speculation. They're supposed to have a chain of evidence that shows that they have jurisdiction. If they're going to go about saying that they know it's true. They're not saying they hope it's true. They're saying that they have jurisdiction. Prosecutor, one of the things he said is, this court has jurisdiction and he violated this applicable statute. How do you know that's true? And why am I being kept in the dark about the evidence that you know about that led you to know that it's true? Tell me about the evidence. Oh, that's a trial issue. Well, wait a minute. Do I have the right to be informed of the cause and nature of these proceedings so that I can plead? You're telling me 90% of the details, right? 90% of the accusations. You're leaving out the one I care about, which is, how did you find out, or how did you know, what led you to know that this court has jurisdiction and that these codes apply to me? Two pieces, really. But yeah, we combine them a little bit. And it's like, well, we assure you we got it. Well, okay, that's great. Your assurances that you have it don't help me think about it and help me investigate it and find out maybe if they're wrong or they're fabricated or whatever. I mean, hell, for all you know, that county doesn't actually own that parcel of land and it's another county's land. You never know. There might have been something back in the 1800s where they made an agreement that little area and that along that creek or whatever the hell it'd be was the next county over. I don't know. I don't care. Point is, they have to prove. They have a burden of proof, not only to show, I mean, the basics of what they're saying, but the one leads to the other. They're saying that your property is located in the county or whatever, and through some means, that leads to a conclusion, to another conclusion, to another conclusion, which leads to they have jurisdiction. Big question mark in the middle. Okay, now I know if I throw gasoline onto a barbecue pit, charcoal, and I throw a match onto it, it's going to flame up. Okay, I can say that throwing gasoline on the fire or on the barbecue made the flame be higher. And I can show that through a series of evidence. But to just go about saying, well, because gasoline exists, this fire is hot. You know, it's there's missing steps. You know, so that's kind of the point and the nature of the thinking and all that good fun stuff. Does that bring up any questions?